Okay, Oscar fans, who's ahead to win those 4 acting awards this year from the Academy Awards? We think we know. I'm Tom O'Neill of Gold Derby. Here is Anne Thompson of Indiewire, Pete Hammond of Deadline, and Tim Gray of Variety. Nominations are just days away. We have heard from the Golden Globes and the nomination lists from many of the guilds. Anne, lead the way here. Who's ahead, let's say for Best Actor? Who can win?
Okay, in this case, the Golden Globes winner, Joaquin Phoenix, has a little bump against Adam Driver. I think it's between the two. I think the Academy loves Adam Driver. They love being alive. That clip is starting to go around. I think it's between the two of them. I won't say which one will win.
Do you think, but before we move down the row here, and do you think that if the Oscar season were longer and voters had had a chance, enough of them, to see Dolomite, and Eddie Murphy had won that comedy musical actor category instead of Theron from Rocketman, do you think he would be a strong candidate to win, Eddie Murphy?
Eddie Murphy may not get in.
I know.
And I think that's a Netflix issue, partly. It didn't. What if Dolomite had gone out and become a big theatrical hit? It might have played. It might have gotten all that, but I think Irishman and Marriage Story are also at a disadvantage, not having had robust theatrical releases. And I think that could hurt them.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't think Eddie Murphy's going to get in now. He needed that Golden Globe win. I mean, you don't. A lot of people, I think, on Gold Derby had predicted him. I had heard from the Hollywood Foreign Press in talking to him last weekend that I heard Taron Egerton quite a bit. So I thought, oh, that might hurt Eddie, and I went with Leo in my prediction, Leo DiCaprio. But in the end, that Taron Egerton came in, and I think
he did get a boost.
He got a boost.
He got a boost, yeah.
Plus, he's been nominated,
nominated,
for a lot of other awards here along the way. BAFTA just nominated him.
SAG
nominated him. Let's not discount him here, and he's got the endorsement of the man he plays, Elton John, all the way down the line.
So
who's a major star, but also Egerton has a flashy, flamboyant, big role, costumes, makeup, hair.
That's true.
Teeth,
and he does his own singing,
all
unlike
the actors can't resist that, honey.
And I don't think they can resist Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. When you see those clips played out again, and that is the life of 90% of the actors voting
totally
in
identified.
the Academy.
Yes.
They have lived that role, and I find it hard to believe that Leo won't be among these people. I agree with you. Adam Driver, well, I think Joaquin Phoenix is way out in front right now as a front runner. He's the one to beat, no question about it. Robert De Niro, oddly, the title player of The Irishman, is in big trouble.
He may not get nominated.
I don't think he will. He has so far not gotten nominated.
SAG didn't do him.
SAG didn't do him. BAFTA didn't do him. The Golden Globes didn't do him.
Critics' Choice didn't do him.
On and on. So that's a problem right there. For De Niro, it looks like it's a very competitive field, and there's no room.
Tim, who can win Best Actor?
Okay. I hope Antonio gets in.
Oh, Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, I would think he will, though.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm pulling for him. But, I want to ask the three of you, because you're all talking about the Golden Globes as if, a win gives them a boost and not winning decrease it. But do you think the Golden Globes have that much effect on Oscar
I do.
voters?
Imagine if J-Lo had won at the Globes this year and Eddie Murphy. I think it would be a very different Oscar race. And also the Globes were 2 days before the balloting ended. There was some time to get a bump there.
But it was well known this year with the short voting window and people coming back from vacation that a lot of Oscar ballots were not filled out until those 2 days. So front of mind is the Golden Globe wins and those speeches can be very powerful in terms of influencing some Academy members. I think, I'm not saying the Golden Globes influence them, but it certainly gets them to watch these movies or pay attention.
I have a question, though. I mean, to the extent that the Oscars are a popularity contest, where does Joaquin Phoenix fit in this scenario? They admire him, no question. Everybody gives him credit for that performance, but the way he presents himself is not cuddly.
No, but I mean, first off, I think Academy members are having a heart attack at your phrase that it's a popularity contest. I mean, they really object to that. But I also think with Joaquin Phoenix, I mean, because I think people respect him, and he has a reputation for being a maverick and eccentric, but he doesn't cost the studios any money.
You
so
could
it's like
say that he's the Daniel Day-Lewis of this year, because he's responsible for Joker being as good as it is, the way Lincoln.
Yeah. And also, I remember when Sean Penn won for Milk, he said, "Look, I know I don't make it easy for you guys to love me, but thank you for this." But it's true. It's like okay, you don't want to live with him, but you want to vote for him.
I could tell you the power with him, with his fellow actors, is something. When I was interviewing Kathy Bates here for an actor's side, these guys know, and they asked the question, because we have a question that they ask at the end: who inspired you most? And Kathy goes, "Oh God, I got to think about. Can it be somebody now? Yeah, it can be whatever." Okay, Joaquin Phoenix in The Joker inspired me. I've seen it twice. I've never seen a performance like this. I mean, and what you could see, she was so moved about it, talking about it, that it has an effect. I don't think it matters what the hell Joaquin Phoenix does with his life. I think it's the performance here, and I think it's the one that resonates the most.
You may be right.
Yeah.
So Tim, anyone else can win other than Joaquin, or no?
Again, I think Joaquin Phoenix, again, because of the performance, is so great. But I also think Adam Driver. I mean, because Adam Driver was in like 3 or 4 movies this year.
He was helped by Star Wars. And The Report.
And The Report. Yeah, he's great in the Report. I should not
tattle on this, but I will. The Gold Derby Awards, which are bestowed by our user base, often reflect who's going to win the Oscar. Of course, a lot of Oscar voters are in our forums and are voting and all of that at Gold Derby. And if there's one thing you could say about our user base, is that they are nuts over Joaquin Phoenix. There's forum thread after forum thread, obsession after obsession, and Adam Driver's beating him right now in the prediction.
Good to know.
Whoa, there's something going on. That's not the final vote, but the way the current tally is.
Joker did make $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah, and it's a magnificent film. And we've underrated its chances all along award season. And let's stick with you. Actress Jack Matthews, the great Oscarologist, wrote an article for Gold Derby recently in which he said, "I think this Renee Zellweger thing, I think she's the Glenn Close of this year. We're all assuming she's going to win, and no, she's going down." I don't buy it. Do you?
I was going for Charlize Theron for a while, and because I think SAG was so high on Bombshell, they gave it ensemble, and I go, oh yeah, the actors really love Bombshell, but it didn't do well at the box office, so that hurts. And I'm going to stick with Renee. I think Charlize was the only one who could unseat her. There was a time when I thought that Marriage Story would be so strong that Scarlett Johansson could ride the tail and be the classy actress, first time, get in there, show her stuff. I think it's Renee.
Oh, they love a good impersonation at the Academy or everywhere else. They go like, oh my God, that's Judy Garland. Judy Garland never won an Oscar. This will be Judy Garland's Oscar.
Aww.
And Renee Zellweger's terrific in this film. Now, it's a single thing. I see the Glenn Close comparison. The Wife came out around the same time. This came out early. The problem with Glenn Close was she won all this stuff and everybody says she's got it in the bag. What they didn't realize was a lot of Academy members never bothered to watch The Wife. They had seen The Favorite, which was nominated for 10 Academy Awards. Didn't win anything all night, but they'd seen it. And that gave a huge thing there for Olivia Colman. And so
also, Glenn Close was playing Glenn Close, and her big money scene dramatically came later in the movie. And you're right, they didn't watch it.
I think a lot of men didn't see it.
Oh yeah,
Renee Zellweger gives the biggest
Judy
performance.
There's a risk there, but there's no one to compete with Renee Zellweger.
No, you don't have the same situation this year with that widely seen movie of a competitor. I just don't see anybody coming up that can challenge Renee.
Agreed.
Mr. Gray?
I think that's possible. I mean, I do think in past Oscar voting, sometimes there's been you get a sense that people are saying, "Oh, she doesn't need my vote. Everybody else is going to vote for her, so I'm gonna do my personal favorite." And there have been upsets because of that.
Oh.
I think we haven't seen the results because we don't know the tallies.
The most famous upset, Loretta Young, 1947, dead last for The Farmer's Daughter in all the little surveys they did. Rosalind Russell was so going to win for Morning Becomes Electra, she was halfway out of her seat when they opened the envelope and said Loretta Young. And the irony is Loretta Young came back to the Oscars years later to present Best Picture. the year Chariots of Fire pulled off a similar upset. You know, there are always upsets, and so don't discount it. But you know,
I think a lot of Academy members did not vote in that 1947 election, though. But so that's a limited analogy. But I do think there
I
are
have
cases.
more.
I mean, again,
We know.
I mean, I personally think Catherine Bigelow with Zero Dark 30, you know, was not nominated for director, and that's a spectacular job. And it could have been the politics.
I think
kept
the
her out.
politics killed
the
that, just like the
controversy over
politics
Georgia.
killed Richard Jewell this year.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, but see, because that's surprising, the vehemence against Richard Jewell. Do you think it was just because journalists are offended that a journalist was being portrayed negatively?
Yes.
Because they're so
no, I
vehement.
think it
She
became.
slept with her sources.
Which is about like 3
Not
minutes
good.
of the movie. You know, it's not really the point of the movie, and yet
it also was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Completely unnecessary.
yeah.
Because the movie's about Richard Jewell, and then the story and the publicity became about her, and that's when you're dead in the water, as anybody who does Oscar campaigns here would be able to tell you. You're in a losing situation there.
But see, now for me, like with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I mean, because the whole premise of that movie is here's two middle-aged white guys wishing things were the way they used to be, and the big enemies are hippies, mostly women hippies,
Yeah.
and Asians like Bruce Lee. And nobody's going after that film, but it's like, so why did they,
They
you know?
agree. They love it.
Yeah, they love
Ford
it.
v. Ferrari,
Yeah,
same idea.
it's not
Old
like,
masculinity reigns.
yeah, exactly.
And remember, only 32% of the Academy are women.
Yeah.
The steak eaters rule.
Yeah, but what, steak eaters?
That's what I call them.
Those are the below the line guys who live out.
All the
Harvey Weinstein
guys.
used to call them
All the
below the line
guys.
guys.
You know, by the way, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood gave Sharon Tate a career she was never able to have for herself. The minute that happened to her in 1969, that's what you associate with Sharon Tate. This movie showed another side, a wistful side that I thought was very sweet, and I thought that movie was so original in the way it viewed the world and gave her, and her family has even endorsed that. And it's interesting to see Margot Robbie get a BAFTA nomination, not just for Bombshell, but also against herself.
So
for
keep
Once Upon
going
a
with this
Time.
category, Pete. Then what happens at the Oscars for Margot Robbie? Because you can only be nominated as
one
an actor
movie.
for one movie, and can she win, or is Laura Dern out front? In other words, is there so much love for Margot that she could overtake Laura in this home stretch?
Well, it's interesting to see that she's got these two movies, and so there could be, you know, a little bit of an upset. I think Laura Dern, though, is beloved in
Hollywood
this town.
royalty.
Hollywood royalty. This is her shot. Her parents have not won Oscars. She's going to win it for the family here. She's great in the
People
movie.
really like her.
And
She's
you know,
got
I
two
think
movies.
it's
She's
her
got
year.
Big Little Lies,
She's
too.
also on the board of
And Little
governors
Women.
of the Academy too. So within the Academy, she's got a real reputation as well. But that didn't matter. She has the great scene in Marriage Story, and that'll prevail here.
Tim, let's go to you on that. Supporting actress, who's ahead and why?
I mean, I think Laura Dern for all the reasons you said. You know, there have always been surprises. There could be. I'm Margot Robbie.
What if J-Lo wins at SAG? That changes everything, doesn't it?
No.
I don't know that it changes everything. I don't know that it changes everything, but I think she's a contender. You know, I mean, you know, again, Academy.
If J-Lo can't win with the Hollywood Foreign Press,
Thank you.
J-Lo cannot win. I'm sorry, and I love you, and Hustlers, you were great. But
That was always going to be the issue with Hustlers all along. It's kind of a cheesy entertainment.
yeah, so you know, I just find that hard to believe that there could be a comeback.
But do you think she'll get nominated?
I
Yes.
don't know. Right now, I
J-Lo?
just filled it out, and I don't have her on there. But I may have to go back and maybe I did. I don't know. I'm a little torn on this. She didn't get a BAFTA nomination, interestingly enough.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Scarlett Johansson is a threat here. I think if she gets in for lead and supporting, we might have a Jessica Lange situation. You know,
That's a
JoJo's
possibility.
strong enough to pull her along.
So you
That's
think
a possibility.
you think she would win for
Win in
for
supporting,
JoJo?
Yes, right.
I don't think she takes it away from Laura Dern, though.
It's like the year of Jessica Lange, where
Oh,
you know
God
she was
for-
nominated in lead for Frances and won in supporting for Tootsie.
God
There are many
forbid-
examples
Yeah.
of that.
God forbid Marriage Story doesn't do very well. That's the one it wins. You see what I mean?
Yeah. let's jump over to supporting actor. I was very skeptical of this Brad Pitt buzz and momentum at Gold Derby, the early predictions, because it's not a transformative performance. It is a lead performance in supporting. That often helps. But I still have, and I haven't made a change yet, after the Golden Globes, I still have the Parasite winner. The guy who plays the chauffeur winning there.
Sang. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Is he going to get nominated?
I think Song Kang-ho, yeah.
Yes.
I think I've got
He's
him.
been working it.
He's been working it, and if there's
I've got him in
And he's
there.
a movie star.
Yeah. He's a huge
if
star.
Parasite is as strong as a threat, and we know it is, to win Best Picture, can this be a win?
Brad Pitt.
That's not the question, Anne.
And that's just her answer to everything.
No, I know. I mean, it seems to be a given that Brad Pitt is going to win. I mean, I talked to a member of the HFPA before the Globes, and she said, I think there's going to be a lot of surprise. The only one you can rely on is Brad Pitt.
But Pete Hammond tells me every year that if you want to catch those upsets at the Oscars, they come in supporting. That's where you go.
True.
And this is, Pete has been famous with it through the years. Like Jim Broadbent one year. You were the only one, and it was in supporting.
Totally. Marissa Tomei, I actually predicted her.
I know you did. That's right.
Because you talked, it's interesting. I call a bunch of Academy members and say, well, who do you think's going to win? And they go like, and that year they said everybody, of Judy Davis, Vanessa Redgrave, all this stuff. I said, who did you vote for? Oh, I voted for Marissa Tomei. I'm going like, well, there's
comedic
the vote.
roles.
Yeah.
That's where that happens in those upsets. But this year, I have to agree with Anne, those two golden words that she just said. Brad Pitt, I didn't predict him for the Globes. I was so stupid. I listened to the Hollywood Foreign Press who said, oh, Al Pacino's charmed us. We loved Al Pacino. I go, okay, well, I guess Al Pacino's going to win there.
Pacino and Pesci going to knock each other out? I mean, that's just inevitable.
Totally. And there's a lot of great contenders this year for supporting actor, no question. The only thing that could hurt Brad Pitt if the actors decide like he's in a category fraud and he shouldn't be in that category.
We always suspect that, and they never call him on it. I think
happen.
90% of the winners in the supporting races historically, at least the last 20 years, have been lead performances.
Yeah, and Brad Pitt is playing Brad Pitt movie star this year. He is going out there like...
and he was good in Ad Astra as well.
He was great
He's
in that.
in the zone. There's this thing that happens every once in a while. He's sober. He looks fabulous. He takes his shirt off. Thank you very much. But he acts well too. This is his time.
He's so good. He's
I don't buy it,
fabulous. I
Tim.
love that.
I'm
That
holding
should
with
be
my
a quote.
Parasite guy. What should I do, Tim?
I think stick to your guns because
definitely. We
again,
wanna
there's
win.
always.
We want to beat you. Parasite is very strong.
Yeah, I mean,
surprises could happen. It could be production design, or although I think that's 1917, but it could win something else.
No,
like director.
People really like Parasite, but also, I mean, when Brad Pitt won, I was in the room, and
You felt the affection.
You felt the affection. On the other hand, I remember a few years ago when Sylvester Stallone was up for supporting actor and won a Golden Globe. I've never seen an ovation like that.
And I bet on him that year for that reason.
Exactly,
and I was wrong.
and Mark Rylance won. And I think Brad Pitt, I think he's more liked than Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, there's no question about that.
And he's very respected, so I think that works. But also, again, I think the cast of Parasite is amazing. Al Pacino, I think this is his best performance in years and years. So it's like, I think there could be an upset. I don't think anything's a given.
Pitt is also a producer, and Plan B gets points for that too.
And
Yeah.
the Producers Guild, they're getting a special
Right.
big
And he
thing
won the
there,
Oscar for
so.
Best Picture with 12 Years a Slave.
Right.
Plan B was one of the producers of Moonlight, Best Picture, of course. But Mark Rylance, thank you, Tim. That was an upset.
Yeah.
And this is where they happen in supporting, so don't assume that Brad Pitt wins. I'm holding to the Parasite guy. What do you say? At home, go to Gold Derby, make your predictions, and prove that you are smarter than we are, because a couple of you out there, maybe a few more than that, really are.